The wild here doesn't whisper, it roars. Glaciers crack like thunder. Waterfalls carve paths through time. And in the middle of it all, she waits. Motor Yacht Unbridled. A sanctuary of warmth and refinement in the heart of Alaska's untamed frontier. Bears wander the shoreline. Whales breach on the horizon. Seals nap on drifting ice while you sip champagne on the aft deck. This isn't a cruise, it's a calling, and only the bold will answer. Now booking your next unforgettable charter, yachtunbridled.com or through your preferred charter broker.
Top of the morning, folks. It's Captain Liam here, Motor Yacht Unbridled at the backdrop of Seattle. Just out and about giving you a different backdrop here. And I've got the honour to have Glen here from Super Yacht Fitness. How are you, Glen?
Yeah, good morning to you. Good afternoon from here in the UK. I'm good.
How'd you go in Antigua? Did you get some sunshine? You get a little tan there, or?
Did get a little bit of a tan. Yeah, the backdrop in Antigua is a little bit different to what I'm looking at on the screen right now for you, Liam. But it's
Very much.
I love that place. I love that place. It's just cool. It's just got a great vibe about it. I can see why you and the Unbridled gang enjoy it out there.
It's chartering. For us, it's Costa Rica next. That's where kind of the charter objectives are, is Mexico, Costa Rica, the warm weather. But we've got some big projects at the moment. So
there's worse places to be.
Yeah, exactly. But one of the reasons I wanted to connect is to talk about Super Yacht Fitness and your kind of story behind it and how it started, and then get into this big movement of wellness. Because most of the emails I'm getting these days from brokers or looking on other charter vessels or even industries like Four Seasons, different other programs, whether it's yacht or shoreside, it's all about fitness and wellness. So tell us your kind of story there, Glen, and then how did you start Super Yacht Fitness?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So I've been in and around the yachting industry for forever, right? 20 years. It's kind of all I know now. In some ways, I've kind of become a bit, it's a bit of a kind of myopic focus on that industry. But going back about 4 years ago, I was introduced to someone that turned out to be my business partner. I was doing some consulting. We'd sold a previous business in the yachting industry. And I was introduced to a chap that had been working in the health and fitness industry for the last 30 years. It was kind of the oracle of health and fitness.
Oh, wow.
Working with high net worth individuals, royalty, elite sports people, a really interesting guy, very humble. And he'd been asked to do a yacht. He'd been asked to do a gym on an 85-meter yacht by one of his clients whose house he was doing. And through that, he was introduced to myself because, I knew the yachting industry pretty well. And we got chatting and we hit it off. We got on really well. And we realized that, there was a need for that particular for that particular project, but there was a broader proposition that really hit me hard, and it was about crew wellness, which back then wasn't spoken about as much.
No.
And the same as
crew wellness was work hard, and then work harder.
Exactly. So we had a long chat about it, and a friend of a friend had committed suicide, and it's quite a humbling moment to start a conversation when you say that, but it's the reality. It was someone in yachting. And, I said to Tim, I said, look, one thing's doing cool gyms on yachts. Yeah. Another thing is helping crew to exist in a better place, because from the outside looking in, it's just the most phenomenal industry. And it is, it's just the best, right?
Like even my son, when I say I'm going back to work with my son, he's like, "You're not working, Dad." You go, I'm like, "Yeah, okay, but it does hurt. These days are tough,
Well, it isn't always easy, right? And there's a load of reasons, and I'm sure we'll chat about some of these over this chat. But we made a pledge there and then, and I said, Tim, if we're gonna get on the path of doing gyms and stuff on yachts, which is great, we also need to make a tangible difference to the guys that are working day in, day out to make owners and guests' lives incredible, and that's what we've continued to do. So our focus was always around crew wellness. As things have evolved, obviously organically with Tim's background as well, we've had a lot of projects present themselves to us from a gym perspective, a lot of new builds and things like that, which is great. because it also gives us more opportunities to talk about the crew wellness stuff to those vessels. And it's been a great journey, Liam. I love making
it's been exciting to watch as well. And then I connected with you last year at Antigua Charter Show, and I would have loved to have gone this year. But, you know, a lot of times when people talk about wellness, they talk about the negative side, meaning it comes from something like a trauma or burnout or something. I also need to acknowledge that it comes from a desire to get a result. And that desire comes from these owners and the demand the owners have on the industry and the crew. So they want the best. I think what the industry realized is we kept burning everyone out. And in order to unlock this little bit of secret, a little bit more energy, a little bit more calmness, a little bit more wellness, we need our fitness. Does that resonate with you?
Oh, massively.
So it's results driven as much as it is trauma.
Yeah, hugely. But then I guess my question back to you is what does results look like? And what does success look like in yachting? Because, you know, if an owner wants that incredible environment, what does success really look like? Does success look like keeping a crew?
Yeah.
Is it keeping the crew happy? Is it just about them? Are they just thinking about themselves and everything else is almost collateral damage?
Yeah.
Because you're going to get some of that. You are going to get some of those, you know, for want of a better term, narcissistic owners that it's, you know, they step on board and everything else is going to fall by the wayside. But, you know, for me, the equation has always been really, really simple. I think if you have a happy crew, you're going to have a better service level and you're going to have a better owner guest experience. Yeah, you know, that, and I don't think many people dispute that's just a fact.
Well, it's proven as well. You look at the boat that just won the awards in Antigua. You look at the energy of the crew, the chef, the chief stewardess who won the tablescape, and you're like, okay, you can see the energy resonating. They're healthy people, they're positive people, and they're giving that back.
They are phenomenal, and you're probably talking about Asani, but they're phenomenal, right? And you speak to the guys on board there, and you know, just chatting to them all when I was out there, it's easy to fall in love with what they're trying to create there. And I say trying to create what they have created. Yeah. Because it goes back to the fact. So I think it's, we are one small step in this cog, right? And, Tim and I, we've always liked to take a very humble approach to this. We are not the solution. We are part of a
But you are the standard. You are the standard, Glenn. I'll give you credit where credit's due. You are the standard. And a lot of people look at you and go, all right, he's onto something, and he's got something, and he's built something. And that's why I do respect you and Tim, and you are the standard. So what you've done is you've taken yachting to a new level, and that's difficult.
Well, and Liam, I mean, thanks for that. I mean, that means an awful lot to me. I think I don't see it that way, but I'd rather not see it that way because I think that keeps us, keeps us pushing the boundary.
Keeps the hunger alive.
Yeah, it does. But if that is the reality, then I'm not going to drop the mic and say my mission is complete because it's not. Because I've got a few more kids to put in the kids through school. But it's if it can make a difference, and Tim and I can make the business work. Then that to me is unreal, right? And we say it every single day. If we can make a difference to one person, that's phenomenal. There's loads of great people out there, right, that are doing some phenomenal stuff. And we want to work with them all. We don't want to compete with anyone, Liam. We don't. Why compete with people when you're trying to make them better?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the whole community, the whole industry's got so big over the last 10, 20 years that you've seen it, and I've seen it. 25 years in yachting, 20 years as a captain. I could never imagine the size of the boat shows or the size of Antigua Charter Show or the standard that these people are going to. The food alone at the Antigua Charter Show this year was Michelin class on every plate. And I'm just like, wow. All right, let's keep going back to the drawing board. What's next? So,
and it is that. Is this what's next?
Yeah, exactly. It was all of a sudden 10 years ago, it was having a slide. Wow. You know what I mean? That's got nothing to do with it anymore, whether you got a slide or not. That's a given fact. So what excites you? What excites you about it? What's the kind of, if you wanted to look ahead and go, all right, what is next? I know we're jumping around here, but what excites you about the kind of wellness aspect? Because wellness isn't just a spa or a massage table or a gym or a Peloton. How are we going to achieve these goals for these clients that keep showing up? Biometrics, IVs.
Where does it stop? And you know what, the beauty and the thing that I really love about what we do is, it's very easy, right? You can run a business looking at your feet,
Yeah.
or you can run a business looking over the hill.
Yeah.
For us, we've got to spend our time looking over the hill. What gives us a bit of an advantage in some ways, if I can kind of humbly say, is that my business partner's background is in elite sport. Now they are years ahead.
Okay.
Right? The clients that he is working with, the elite sports people, the Premier League footballers, the training grounds, they are years ahead. Yeah. So the things that we're talking about in yachting that sound really, really cool, like, infrared and, red light therapy, and, hot, cold plunge and things like that are like, wow, can we get them on board? It's like, of course you can.
Well, I think it starts with data and monitoring. Like about 5 years ago, I had this vision. I said, all right, crew, we should all be wearing smartwatches and we should all compare our data. Let's just be honest and have it up on a board to see our heart rates, our stress levels, our sleep patterns. And the crew are like, no, okay, that's too much. Settle down. Go back up to the bridge. Let's keep finding good coves and bays. But I think there's something to it because we are like professional athletes in the sense of the standard we need to get to. And it's exhausting. So how do we refresh? How do we monitor that so the girls are getting enough sleep, Well,
it's so true. And it's an analogy we use a lot, actually. And we've got we've got the program, we've got a training program called the Maritime Growth Program. And it was actually set up and designed by a lady that works with elite sports people. It was designed for politicians and sports people so that people can perform at their top level when it's required.
Yeah.
And it's all about how you communicate, how you deal with conflict and all of this stuff. And actually, it's really relevant. And, we need to treat crew like elite sports people. Now, I'm not saying every yacht needs a sports conditioning coach just for crew. And, when you're back, like a Premier League footballer, right? You've got all the data on the sidelines. You've got a coach realizing that the battery of that player's down. It's like playing fantasy football almost. Their battery's at 30%. We'll take them off now. We'll let them recharge.
Yeah, exactly. But you can see the fatigue in them. And it's funny, I love Premier League football. Do you follow a team particularly or sport?
Yeah, sadly, they're not in the Premier League anymore, Liam. They got relegated last year. Southampton.
Oh, taking a break, eh? Good old Southampton, eh? They're all right. They're good.
We got fatigued.
Great players.
We got tired.
Yeah. Well, lucky and unlucky. I'm a Liverpool fan, but they've had their ups and downs. But they're in a down moment now, but that's okay. But my analogy with that is, I, as a captain, and even the owners and DPAs and management companies, we need to look at like we're the coaches in a lot of ways, and how are we presenting our teams in the best way to the charter brokers and to the owner to get the result for them. And that has a lot of different aspects to unravel. How do we get the best results? And that's why I look at crew and I say, crew, let's look at a season at a time. This is an Alaska season. What crew do I need for Alaska? How are we going to get the results we need? How do we move forward? So that's kind of why, and I lay the crew up when I present it to the clients as a football team, like 11, like goalkeepers, strikers. And then I say to the team, did we win today or lose today? What's our score? 1-0, 2-0. How do we have fun with this?
How do you present that to the crew when they're on the bench, Liam?
When they're on the bench, well, the word permanent, I think, comes with a bit of baggage. Like I usually say we've got a family on Unbridled of 20, 30 people that come and go based on what their lifestyle needs are. Some don't want to work full time. You can't have a happy dive instructor sitting up in Alaska. So the dive instructor comes and joins us in Costa Rica. So that's kind of the way I look at a crew is you've got to have a network of people that you can surround yourself with that you can get the best out of for that client because the demands are so high. It's almost ridiculous, and why we do it.
That analogy. It's the same analogy with football. You're going to present an 11 people depending on the opposition.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same analogy, but I think in yachting, we think we're so unique. But actually, there's so many parallels that we can draw from into that yachting world.
Yeah, and the elite athletes, but also the corporate world. I think we lose ourselves thinking we are different but we should take more lessons from the corporate world in terms of HR, in terms of not poaching players, but almost looking at people. Like I spend a lot of time looking for people that have potential in the industry and speaking to them and saying, "Oh, I don't have a position now for you, but in a year or two, I think we're going to work together." And when that comes to fruition, I'm like, "Yes, I got a good player now. Let's go."
Absolutely, and that keeps you hungry for them, and it keeps them hungry to keep moving, and it stops that. It's a very it's a very attritional industry, right? It's very transient by nature, and I think if you've always got something to work towards, then that's going to really help. If that's the way you look at it, right? Some people just want to come into it for a year, a gap year or something, but if you've got something to work towards, that's where you're going to get your great crew, because they're aspirational, they're really focused on achieving something. And I'd imagine, Liam, from the conversations you and I have had, they are the sort of people you're looking for, because that's your personality type, right? You're always looking forward.
Yeah, I love it, and I embrace it. And even the chief steward the other day, she goes, "Thanks for pushing me, Cap." And I'm like, "It's not push; it's creating space for you to succeed, Tiff." And I'm like, "That's the key: is we have to create space for people to go into and succeed." And when you see them have those little attention to details, when they take initiative, that's the goal. It's not a dictatorship. When they take initiative and create something on their own, that's what you celebrate, because that means they're pushing themselves ahead. But it all comes back to fitness and wellness, internal or external. So what are the challenges you face when you have a client come to you, whether it's a new build or a captain or a chief stew? Who approaches you usually?
It's a real variation. It's a lot of project managers, owners, reps, captains, those sorts of people. Rarely is it the owner, right? Because the owner doesn't tend to get too involved in that. And occasionally the yard. But typically it's owners, rep, it's project management, technical managers, designers, and captains. And I think the biggest challenge is knowledge. Actually, at the point that we're appointed. And I think...
You mean knowledge in terms of educating the client?
Yeah, because one thing that really stood out when Tim came into this industry was he was really uninspired by yacht gyms. He was like, they're just pretty places on board. There's no inspiration. It's the same. It's a
placeholder. It's a placeholder. Yeah.
It's a placeholder. The towels are perfectly there. Everything looks precision and nothing looks used. And the reality is probably 80% of the time it's not used. It's just a nice room that would help to charter a yacht. But most of those are probably not chartering or being used. So I think the biggest challenge is educating whoever it is that's talking to you, because the reality is a project manager, a captain, a designer, whoever that might be, they are not experts in gym architecture, gym design. We've had clients come to us this year that have got, great designs and everything, but unfortunately they don't even fit. They've designed a gym that the equipment that they've spec'd doesn't even fit in that room because of the ceiling height. And it's where we come into that. It's where Tim's expertise is immeasurably useful. So I think education is one of the biggest things, and then space. Just space. I get so frustrated when we go on board yachts, and you think, and they talk about this most phenomenal gym, and you go on board, and it's just rows and rows of equipment. And there's no space. And you mentioned earlier on about Tiff, and you gave us space to succeed. I think the same thing applies to a gym. You need space to succeed. You don't need 8 different machines to do an ab, a pec, a shoulder. There's so much funky equipment in this day and age, technology, where you can save so much space. So for me, it's create space. Have a room where you can actually, or an environment, doesn't have to be a room, an environment where you can go in and think, I can breathe. I can just breathe, because you're not going to get that in your cabin. You're not going to get that necessarily in a crew mess. You're definitely not going to get it in the galley. You might get it in a day head if that's where you're going to go and sit for a bit. But that's
the lighting's different. There's a whole lot to it. The wallpaper, the colouring, the lighting. Wellness is a set of scenes or emotions or senses that you have to bring together.
Oh, and the whole the circadian lighting and stuff like that. We're working with the guys that are doing a lot of that now, and it's huge. And some people, Liam, will look at this and say, it's a bit, I won't say the word because this is going to go onto YouTube, but it's not for us.
Yeah, exactly.
The reality is it should probably be for everyone, especially when we're dealing with cutting edge yachts. You know, the ability to make crew operate under the right lighting conditions to stimulate them and give them the energy recovery that they need.
Yeah.
Why aren't we all looking at that? And the only reason is that we're not is because of education.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the other key to this is I'm sure, you know, from an operational perspective, we lack a lot of training. And the training doesn't just mean from someone like yourself, here's the equipment, turn it on. For us, it's the training that to encourage guests into that space and how to use that space with them or for them. Because that's a lot of times where it falls short on a charter is they want the gym, but they never use it. And the reason they never use it is because they're never really encouraged to use it. You know, they never really set times. So a lot of times with my clients now, I'll say, okay, 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, no pressure. We can adjust the time. We can move it day or night. It's your holiday, but there's an availability to do a yoga session on the sun deck. And then within the third day, someone will show up and the crew have it set up, irrelevant whether they're coming or not. The crew have got it set up. They show up on the third day. And then the fourth day, there's 2 of them. And then they adjust the time to 6:30 or 5, you know, they adjust. And then you're like, okay, we've got it. We've got it. And then there's a treadmill and there's a Peloton and there's loose weights and let's do some slow movements, you know, let's go rowing, you know. So it's, I don't know, the training of the crew and of the guest is the best asset we are underutilizing to use the equipment that you're putting on the boats.
And how many yachting, I don't know, it's kind of a question for you, but how often do you hear about like yachting boot camps? Like you almost go onto a yacht and a crew will run a boot camp for the week, regardless of whether people turn up or not. But there's a boot camp and it's going to be available at 7 o'clock every morning if you want to join it. I love the idea of that.
Yeah.
Because
we did it during a boat show. We did a 7 o'clock yoga and then a bit of fitness during the Flibs last year before. Last year. Yeah. And it worked. Brokers showed up, people showed up, and it's like you set the time or you make the space, people will come up. They show up when you make the space for them. But if you don't, they'll drink wine, they'll sleep in, the guests won't worry about it. And then they feel a little bit like they haven't got everything out of the trip. You know, and I'm like, oh, that's the sad bit. So we talked about kind of the challenges you face. What are the success stories? What do you like? What's something that's just gone? Is it 100 meter that you've just kind of changed the space or a happy client?
You know what? It's a real success this year. And I love it because it resonates with me from you're changing the mindset of someone, but you're changing the mindset of an owner. We had a client this year that we spoke to at the start of the year, and they wanted to rent some equipment. And so Super Yacht Fitness rental started really at the start of this year. It wasn't on the roadmap. Yeah, it wasn't even on the roadmap, Liam. It wasn't something we thought about doing. But we started getting loads of people contacting us saying, can we rent? Can we rent? Especially for charter yachts, right? Where you don't have the space on board to keep it. I feel like this whole conversation's gone about space and space, whether it's mental or actual physical space. But which is
wellness. You know, I just did a post saying you cannot. What is it? You can't create ideas in chaos. You know what I mean? Or creativity doesn't exist in chaos. It exists in calm, and that's where you set goals. You know.
It's why you have the best showers when you're sat on the best ideas when you're in the shower or on the toilet, right? Because it's
exactly. You take that space, you know. No phones ringing or anything, you know.
Exactly. But we started Super Yacht Fitness, and it was more out of a need. And then we had a particular client contact us at the start of the summer saying we want to rent a couple of treadmills, a couple of ellipticals, for a charter. So we rented the equipment out to them, you know, really successful. They then contacted us and said, look, we've got some further charters. It's for the owner who's coming on board. Can we re-rent them and keep them a bit longer? We said, yeah, of course you can. So we re-rented them. And at the end of the season, they contacted us. They said, firstly, thank you. That was blooming brilliant. Yeah. Secondly, the owner is now absolutely mad on fitness because of the equipment you put on board and has never done fitness before. Thirdly, we're ripping out an area on board and we're going to convert it into a gym. Is that the sort of thing you get involved in, or do you just do rental? And I said, no, ironically, we didn't do rental before this year.
Yeah, exactly. That is the thing we do.
that is what we do. So it was a really nice story that an owner of a vessel had gone from not being engaged in fitness to really, getting into it and outfitting an area on board for that purpose. And then the feedback we've got, Liam, on a crew level has just been, been brilliant. Getting pictures of crew all wearing their wearable technology on heights, having yacht versus yacht challenges. As I said at the start, every single person that we can impact positively is a positive. And it's not, yes, being physically fitter is a big benefit, but the mental benefits that come from physical exercise are massive. And the reason I do exercise, pretty much every day is because if I don't, I'll be grumpy.
Yeah, 100%. That's why right now we've got a winter in Seattle, and I'm like, crew, you have to get off the boat. We have to schedule this. No choice. Once a day, you got to get off, and you got to get a routine. So we adjust our work hours, and we have bonuses if people show up in the morning in like gym gear. You can work all day in gym gear, no problem. But whatever you need to get back into some way moving your body positively.
I love that. Yeah. And giving crew that ability to have, scheduled crew gym time or workout time or whatever it might be.
Yeah, or yoga. Like it's a 1 o'clock yoga session. It's like, go, work a bit later or adjust your hours. Go to the yoga, go to the hot. Whatever you need to do for yourself is the priority because that shines back through.
And would it be too controversial, Liam, to suggest then that even when you've got guests on board, you maintain that same consistency somehow where you create an expectation?
You can, to be honest, for example, when deck crew and you put guests on jet skis, a lot of times they want crew to go to either film, which is one thing I really encourage, is film, record the story. And then they go, that's a good idea. So one crew just records the story on another jet ski. Same thing in the yoga. Let's go bring a crew member up and then they kind of engage with the crew member. You're creating stories in yachting. People forget you're creating stories. And how do you get that narrative? You engage people because doing it by yourself is just not the same. So bonding a wealthy, a lady who's trying to do a bit of a yoga by herself on a TV or with a crew member, you bring another crew member in, a junior deck crew, or you engage. It's all about the engagement side of things. But I want to talk about the wearables because that's something that I'm kind of excited about. When we talked about me kind of tracking crew and heart rate and sleep, it may be too much, and that may be a sensitive topic, but professional athletes are tracked.
Yeah, there's so much. Sorry, you cut out there, Liam.
I said a lot of owners now for their wellness, they're tracking, whether it's their blood glucose levels after meals. It's all about the data-driven decisions. So your wearables, where do you see, tell us about that to start with.
Well, you know what, and I think the data piece is just going to explode, right?
Yeah.
And we're now talking to a company in terms of VO2 max because that's, it's one of the biggest predictors of health, your VO2.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we're working with a company to bring that into the yachting world. But our wearable, so the MyZone integration that we currently have, and we're always looking at how best to do this moving forward because the reality is technology changes so often. And it's one of the biggest challenges with doing gyms on boards or any AV on board, right? Is that at the point you determine it, 4 years later, it's all changed.
It's done, yeah, exactly. Yeah, 2 years later. It's like...
Well, today's tech is out of date tomorrow. So my daughter keeps telling me with her iPhone.
I went to buy a car and he's like, wait till next year. And then all of a sudden, no, wait till next year, there's that feature you want. I'm like, can I just get the car at some point?
just give me the car now. But the real purpose around our wearable was not so much about health and monitoring data. It was about creating a gamified community because the real purpose behind that was about, so with MyZone, what you do is you achieve points, right? Yeah. So depending on how much activity you do, now activity could be anything, right? Activity could be a walk, it could be a hike, it could be a paddle, it could be, good Lord, it could be sex on board. You name it, right? As long as it gets your heart rate up, Liam, that's
get the heart rate, make it happen, Cardiovascular.
Exactly. For some people, that's gonna be a good workout. But it's about how many MEPs you get, and that's all linked to MyZone effort points. It's linked to a World Health Organization guideline of exercise. But the beauty of that is it goes a step further, where it's very sticky in the sense that you get 1 month and you're an iron, you get 3 months you're bronze, you get 6 months. I'm now at 36 consecutive months. So I'm
Wow.
a platinum member. If I do this year, I'll become a Hall of Famer. If I do this year, 48 months. But so you get that stickiness, which just keeps you motivated and keeps you hungry to perform and to just do something. But the beauty is that you can do yacht versus yacht competitions. You can do intra-yacht competitions. You've got leaderboards. You can set challenges where you might say, okay, we're not going to count anything in the grey zone. So just a gentle walk doesn't count this month, guys. You're going to have to up your game.
Exactly.
So it's there's various different ways you can do it. The flip side, you can go to Whoop, right? Whoop notoriously doesn't have a great reputation on yachts because it doesn't deal well with the movement on board yachts. But it's still very popular, right? And with that, you can look at your sleep score, your sleep hygiene. You can look at your resting heart rate. You can look at how well you're charged up. That sort of tech is so important. And the way I see Super Yacht Fitness evolving over the forthcoming period is to stay very current with what's out there. But what we won't do, Liam, and one thing we're really keen to not be is led by any one brand. We need to stay agnostic because it's the only way to offer best service to clients.
Yeah, exactly.
Which makes it harder for us in some ways, right? Because
branding's easy. Sponsorship branding, you become loyal and develop something, but you lose your flexibility.
Yeah, exactly that. And we realized that, and we realized that from the start. We kind of wore that on the chin, and we knew that without exclusivity, you don't get as good deals. But I want to be able to look a client in the eye and say, what you've asked for, we've given you what is best for that, not what is best for us.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's something we'll stay with, and will stay with us throughout the journey of Super Yacht Fitness. So
that's integrity. That's integrity right there.
Yeah, and it's something that's always been important to me in the industry. Right, I'm going to make loads of mistakes, I'm sure, because mistakes not negative, right? It's just a learning. It's another learning.
Exactly. Well, back to Premier League football, it's how many shots on goal. That's one of the most important things. How many shots on goal? Sometimes, you never know. It goes in the back of the net. You can shoot 10 times and it doesn't matter. Just keep shooting. Keep shooting.
And as a fan of a team that have lost 9-1 or 9-0 a couple of times in recent years.
I remember.
You definitely have to learn from that, Liam.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up. But how can people get a hold of you? Super Yacht Fitness, Instagram, website.
Jump on Instagram. We are really building our social presence. We've got a couple of social media people. We've got a few ambassadors coming on board. So that social media presence is really important to us now. Yeah. I'll be honest, Liam, I don't have a great understanding of it. I know you are the guru of this. And anyone that talks about Unbridled, you are a king.
Well, I don't know what I'm doing, to be honest with you. I don't know. But what I do it for a reason. I do it like you kind of have that motto of helping one person. And I get calls kind of most days now about someone who's looking for advice, either getting in the industry or having some problems. And I'm like, this is worth it. I've got 2 kids that are 14, 16 going into the world. And if they can have someone to look up to and someone to call, that's the goal. So, and for me, Unbridled, I'm proud of it. I think she's a beautiful yacht. I think going diving, fishing, traveling the world, that's what I was born to do. So to celebrate that is easy. The social media thing is just a camera.
Well, and it comes across very natural. And it's a story I often say, right, is that I've got a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old. And the reality is they've never known their dad not work in the yachting industry. The chances of them ending up in yachting are probably quite high in some capacity. Yeah. So I want to make the industry as good as possible for them to join. As healthy, as upbeat, as well-paying, with a great balance. And if I can help other people produce that kind of industry for them, so that in 10 years' time or 8 years' time, God forbid, it's an awesome world for them to join. So
I agree.
Get hold of us? Jump onto our website, superyachtfitness.com.
That's what I find what's better about social media than news is social media kind of engages the positivity, whereas the news engages the negativity. And the reason I engage in social media is there was so much negativity in yachting, from incidences or alcohol abuse or, deaths or, like you're saying, suicide. And I was like, come on, there's another side here. We're going to change the balance here. This is a stunning industry where we travel the world, see beautiful places, meet beautiful like-minded people like yourself who are motivated to make a change. And that's where I think the beauty of yachting is. But I think I see that in Super Yacht Fitness. You know, when you came to visit us, the crew were like, cool, yeah, awesome, let's go. You know, it was good energy.
Exactly. And we're not going to get everything right. But, you know, what we will always do is learn from it. And we're always open to just new ideas. And you know, beautiful. I love what we do in the same ways you love what you do, Liam. Every morning I wake up and I've got a sprightly step, and I just want to go out there and just, you know, I've never been so happy in a working environment, and you know, that's what I want people to feel when they're on board a yacht.
Yeah, beautiful.
So you know, that's how it should be. And
well, they're our clients.
Like yourself.
They're the clients. They usually show up kind of stressed a little bit and a little bit down. And by the time day 3 or 4, you see them. They're engaged. They're calmer. Day 5, 6, they're like they're starting to shine back. They got the color to their skin. And then by day 7, they're like, that was awesome. I'm like, keep on coming back. Let's do it again. Lift the bar.
Absolutely. Keep lifting the bar. And I reckon next year you just need to make Unbridled the boot camp boat.
I like that idea, actually. Yeah, we were actually going to do a wellness, because we're going to Alaska, and we had this idea of doing a wellness trip. So you you start in Seattle, and then you end up in Juneau or Sitka or wherever in Alaska. But that week is like a wellness trip, either for the industry or for yourself, or maybe we get Super Yacht Fitness involved, you know?
Absolutely. And you know what? It's going to be something that happens. You know, we've had the fortune of talking to certain people in, let's say, American football, where they are, for example, need to do recovery, and they're being sent away for recovery, and they need hyperbaric treatment and things like that. Yachts are a place that they are looking at doing this. So, you know, if you're a charter yacht and you're open-minded to the, you know, that rehab or boot camp or recovery or whatever it might be, longevity is a big thing now, right? And
reset, refresh.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's make it happen.
Glenn, thanks for joining me. It's an absolute pleasure having on you. It's usually only 10, 15 minutes or something, but I'm like, I just really enjoyed your time. It was great to reconnect.
Yeah, sorry we rambled on, but I love it. Thanks, Liam. You take care. Enjoy Seattle, buddy.
Be safe, be blessed, mate.
Take care.
If your brand belongs in the heart of the yachting world, this is where it happens. Yachting International Radio reaches over 1 million yachting professionals and enthusiasts every month, with 77 million impressions, 220,000 social followers, and 74,000 podcast subscribers. Our hosts are insiders, crew, captains, CEOs, trusted voices shaping the industry. This is targeted, high-impact advertising in a luxury niche. Visit yachtinginternationalradio.com/advertise